Meta Platforms, aka Facebook, shared crazy amount of information today about its AI infrastructure, which brings both some good news and bad news for Nvidia stock investors. Regardless, Meta Platforms is really setting itself up to continue to dominate the AI space. Let's learn a little bit more in today's episode.
I want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video, and check out fool.com/Jose for the 10 best stocks to buy now. With that link, you get a promotional offer for the subscription service. Now, let's continue with today's episode.
All right, so first, let's just start off with some price action. Meta Platforms ended the day nearly at $500. The stock was up roughly 3.3%. Year to date, the stock is dominating, up roughly 44%. And in the past year, the stock is up over 176%. Now, for us Nvidia shareholders, I'm actually both a shareholder of Meta and Nvidia, but Nvidia was up 7% today. Year to date, the stock is up over 90%. And in the past year, the stock is up over 300%. And like I mentioned today, Meta Platforms shared a lot of great information about its Gen AI infrastructure. And for those that have been following this channel, we have talked about Meta Platforms in the past numerous times, and why this was a top AI place, a top AI play, while many people believed it was just focused in augmented reality, virtual reality, and the metaverse. And one of the main reasons is this company was investing heavily in its AI infrastructure. And the last year, which Meta called the year of efficiency, Meta kind of slowed down a little bit on their infrastructure build as they were focusing on developing their next form of data centers, which were really going to be built out for generative AI solutions and just AI solutions in general. Well, today on March 12th of 2024, they did talk a little bit more about their overall solution, and they mentioned that they're marking a major investments in Meta's AI future, and they are announcing two 24,000 GPU clusters that they are going to be using to train their future Llama 3 model. So, I think this is insane. Two 24,000 GPU clusters. We are going to see these are H100 GPUs. So, obviously, great news for NVIDIA investors. And it just continues to show that, hey, look, the best product that you have out there, or the best product that you're using for any form of AI model training, has to be NVIDIA. The other thing is, this is not the first supercluster that Meta has. They have an A100 cluster as well. So this kind of also showcases that, hey, just because you have a supercluster in the previous generation, in the current generation, it showcases that for the next generation, there's a high probability that this company will buy and build another supercluster. So Meta mentions that by the end of 2024, they are aiming to continue to grow their infrastructure build out that will include 350,000 NVIDIA H100 GPUs as part of their portfolio, and will feature compute power equivalent to nearly 600,000 H100s. And this is where I want to say it's maybe a little bit of both good news and bad news for NVIDIA stock investors. First, we can see most of that computing power is going to come from the H100. It's also going to come from their A100 superclusters, which is the previous generations. But we are hearing reports that Meta is really focusing on some form of AI chip for their own solution, and that could be seen as a negative or a yellow or red flag for Nvidia. I mean, we saw this on February 14th, where Meta had new members joined its board of directors, and one of those members is actually the CEO of Broadcom Technologies. Tan has served as Broadcom's president and CEO and member of the board of directors since March of 2006. And some of you might be wondering, hey, Jose, why is that such a big deal? Well, for those that are not familiar, Broadcom is a big player in custom compute solutions. They are the partner of Google to design the TPU. So Google has their own AI accelerator, the TPU, which they use for various AI workloads. So many investors are worried right now, or might be seeing, hey, look, if Broadcom CEO is working with Meta platforms, then we're going to see Meta platforms continue to develop their own AI chip. Before we go any further, I just want to say thank you all for the amazing support we are getting in this channel. We're closing into 40,000 subs. That is insane. So if you haven't and you are enjoying the content, make sure to hit the thumbs up and the subscribe button. Finally, if you want to support this channel a little bit more, check out my special offer at fool.com/Jose. Now back to today's episode. When it comes to Meta designing its own AI chips, it's not too it's not a completely new endeavor. We did see about a year ago that Meta announced their MTIA, which was their AI chip that's meant for inferencing and training. But unfortunately, this was their Gen 1 model, and their Gen 1 model didn't kind of meet the requirements based on reports of internal results. So they kind of scratched it and not really used it to some extent. Now, the second version is expected to come out here in 2024, and hopefully that might do a little bit well for them. But we can see even Google, who's kind of had their TPUs for multiple decades, Meta has billions of dollars. And even for them to design a chip, it takes numerous generations. And at the end of the day, most of these chips are only good for one thing, and they're going to be more to complement the H100, to complement the B100. So I do get a lot of bears coming out and saying, hey, look, Meta's no longer going to need NVIDIA. All these other tech giants are not going to need NVIDIA. That's not necessarily true. They are just going to help because all these companies, right? Meta, Microsoft, Amazon, they all have internal workloads and they know those internal workloads inside out. So for them, it makes perfect sense to make some form of AI chip that works for those workload solutions that they have to help speed up some of the process and improve and complement their NVIDIA GPU solutions. So here we can see that the new chip that Meta is expected to drop should be somewhere in 2024, and it's going to be only used for inferencing. That's a lot what we're seeing with a lot of these AI custom chips that all these cloud service providers are building. There were reports on February 14th of 2024 that Meta paid about $500 million to Broadcom for components in 2023. In 2024, I do believe it's going to be a lot higher. This is why there's also a big potential for NVIDIA to open up and enter the custom silicon solution. In a previous conference keynote that NVIDIA CEO was in Stanford, I believe, he actually talked a little bit about the custom silicon market. And he mentions that, hey, look, if there's an opportunity for us, we'll definitely take it. Now, if we jump back into Meta, Meta mentions that their overall long term vision for AI is to build artificial general intelligence, aka AGI, and the progress they make towards AGI creates new products for them that they can use in their social media platform that can help overall increase retention time and just user time in their overall apps. They've already announced a lot of new AI solutions for Facebook, for Instagram, and for Reels in general that are helping continue to improve their advertisement and improve their overall retention time being users. So I'm about to geek out really quick. Like I mentioned, Meta is building two crazy supercluster of GPUs using NVIDIA's H100. And the main difference between these two solutions is their networking solution. In one, they're using what they call Rock E network fabricating solutions based on Arista's networking solution, Arista 7800 with Wedge 400 and Mini Pack OCP rack switches. The other is using NVIDIA's Quantum 2 InfiniBand fabric solution. So here, Meta is still in building these huge superclusters is still new to a lot of players. It's new to the overall market, right? So right now they're trying to test out who is the best player when it comes to networking solutions. I'm going to put my money here on Nvidia, but we can see how the overall company is testing out different solutions to see which works best. So overall, Meta is definitely playing really big here in the AI market by building these two super clusters. Now, I do want to take a closer look at one recent news that a lot of people have brought to my attention here for Nvidia. On March 11th, so yesterday, there are reports that NVIDIA is sued over AI training data as copyright clashes continue. And right now, there was a data set that a lot of AI companies use that was supposedly maybe copyrighted or was illegally contained to some extent. So right now, a lot of authors are suing numerous AI companies for this. One company to be sued is now Nvidia. Personally, I don't think this is really gonna really impact the overall stock. If anything, a lot of these companies will just have to quickly retrain, not including that book set. But an NVIDIA spokesperson told the Wall Street Journal that they respect the rights of all content creators and believe they created Nemo in full compliance with copyright law. So it's not a crazy model in general that is being impacted here. But right now, we can see that the legal matters in the AI market is still new. Again, it's a lot of companies being sued, and I'm not too worried as a investor of Nvidia right now, as we see all these big tech giants always getting hit with some form of lawsuit. The final thing I want to take a closer look at is just PE ratio forward for Nvidia and Meta. Nvidia is sitting at 37 when we look at forward. That's the next 12 months. Meta Platforms is looking pretty cheap at 25. If we take a closer look at the next 24 months, Nvidia drops down to 31 and Meta Platforms drops down to 21. So obviously, depending on where you believe the market is heading for AI, Nvidia might be looking somewhat attractive, but Meta Platforms is still looking pretty healthy, even after that crazy run up. So I'm a shareholder of both Nvidia and Meta. Have no intentions of selling, but if I had to buy one right now based on valuation, I think Meta might be a interesting choice right now. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Take care, have a good day, and see you next time.